on nice and put it up in the air, make a chase to lie. It don't matter where you come from, girl, shake your bam bam. Holla, holla, oh na na na. Say to London, rap where you come from. Holla, holla, oh na na na. All of my ladies in the club.
Yes, if you tell me, I will tell them that Tell Me is on.
Did somebody say tell me? Then tell me about it. Tell Me with host Carlisle Powell.
There are talk shows, and then there is Tell Me, your very credible source for information. Join us every Thursday night. You certainly won't be disappointed.
Alongside Dr. Kelvin Daly.
Panic and fear, uncertainty that is compounded by a leadership that appears unprepared, uncertain, and indecisive in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic.
And Tulu Weeks.
Until God gets a hold of our Premier's life and transforming, he will go from bad to worse.
We are tired of playing politics. We need to see policies that will change the life of people, especially those of us in the diaspora.
Tell me. Carlisle, I want all human leaders rally for change.
Every Thursday at 8 p.m., you can be a part of this conversation by calling 669-7312. That's 869-669-7312. Also available on WhatsApp for From the Diaspora 917-460-2187.
Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. with host Carlisle Powell on 2020 Vision Radio and Facebook.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
This 2020 Vision Radio 102.1 FM program is being simulcast weekly on the Caribbean Broadcast Network, heard on CBN Superstation 90.9 FM, Go Loud Digicel app, covering the entire U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and CBN TV on Flow Channel 101 and on CCT TV Channel 291. We do appreciate our U.S. and British Virgin Island listeners and viewers joining us for these informative and entertaining programs on 2020 Vision Radio and 102.1 FM. The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Tell Me. This time it's Powell Overload number 3. And all of those 68 persons who telephoned and messaged and had my phone very busy wondering if we are not having Tell Me Overload tonight, we're on. I suspect that Alan had to make sure that he got his lawyer in place first of all, and I had to get my 4 lawyers lined up so that we keep out of trouble tonight. Alan Powell, how are you? Good night.
I'm well. I am sorry for my lateness. I almost put myself to shame tonight because I just called the premier the analog minister and we had some digital problems, but we're here.
We're here now, and we're ready to go. Let me first of all apologize for our lateness, as Alan did. By the way, Alan, somebody already sponsored an extra half an hour. They say since we're late, we should go later. So because they want the whole 2 hours. Tonight, let me start with the birthday greetings. Dr. Daly and Tulu are not here. Tulu called. I don't know if he was calling in to help me sing the birthday song, but he did call. Today is the birthday of Catherine and Vernice Parry Griffin, Chanel Sturge Woods, and then on Saturday the 1st, Shamika Maloney and music man Kenny Easy Warner, Lisa Brown. On Sunday the 2nd, we have Marlene Pemberton, and my good cousin dear Lornette Powell will be celebrating on Sunday as well. And then on Wednesday the 5th, Florencia, Justin, and Tasha Parry. Those are the persons who will be celebrating. And let me disappoint all you tonight. Dr. Daly already told all you that I can't sing. I wouldn't even attempt to sing at all. Just saying happy birthday to you. Do me a favor, early o'clock. Like and share. Make sure that you like and share so that those persons who are out there waiting and ready for Powell Overload, that you can involve them as well. Let me say good evening to my big sister Mary, second sister Irma Glenda, third sister Mervet, and their families, of course. And let me reach out and say good evening to my brothers Everett and my brother Trevor, and their families as well. Those are on Maria's side, of course. I have brothers and sisters on my father's side as well. But I have this habit of shouting out those on Maria's side and hoping that they are well and wishing them well. And wherever you're tuned in from, I want to say good night to you. Dahlia, good evening to you, and thanks for lending your husband to us tonight. Alan, we have a lot of stuff to go through tonight. A lot. Where do you want to start?
Your choice, man. I'm here for you.
Okay, well, if you're giving me the choice, I suppose that we should start with Alexis Jeffers, because we have been doing this airport project for such a long time, and even after 5 years of working on the airport project, I found out last week that the designs are not complete yet. So let's play this clip.
I will say certain designs have been completed. For example, the road that will be the new road or the realigned road, the designs have been completed for that and already have been submitted to the Ministry of Communications and Works. So that is done. And of course, I don't know if you want to go into that particular bit of road a little bit more at this point or a bit later.
A bit later, we'll get into
but
that.
also there are other areas, for example, the fire station, that is about 85% complete in terms of the design. Same thing with the passenger terminal, and also the runway and the extension and so forth. All those are at, say, about 60 to 70% completed. But indeed, I will say further that, for example, the runway, the design for that will not be fully completed at this particular point in time. But what we intend to do when we get rolling, the work has been done on that portion thus far, meaning heading eastwards and also to the west. But those detailed drawings and so forth will be available once the project gets going. But preliminary designs are there for sure.
Your response?
I am only kind of confused because we have already had consultations and we have been in contact with this company, I think, from since 2015. So we had a decade with them now. And as of yet, we are not able to see plans, but, well, from my didn't they give us renderings?
Yes.
So I would have thought that they would have been further along. When I really think about it though, what this shows me is this is why we haven't heard anything as to the cost that is gonna ultimately be involved. Because if we can't get final plans, we can't get final costs either. Which is also astounding with the fact that I think that it has been mentioned that $20 million has already been secured for the purchase of lands. And it must be understood that this is a real estate acquisition, essentially. How you have to look at the airport, I think you're going to have some more clips to play. Those will highlight the nature of this as a real estate acquisition, particularly when we come to the private investor, because we're going to hear the word public-private partnership all the time going forward.
What further confuses me, Alan, is the fact that even though we have been talking about this and we have been paying monies to the consultants from since about 2015, we are thinking of doing a project. We don't know the cost of the project. The designs have not been completed, which means, and according to Alexis Jeffers, you will have the plans for the runway after the start of the project. Well, how do you negotiate costs if you don't know the plans? And if you don't have the plans, you don't have anything except some drawings to go by. How do you say to the people of Nevis that this is anything but a Ponzi scheme?
Well, that will be left to be seen. I am not familiar with the technicalities you used to run an airport. In my mind, I do not see the design of a runway as something which should be major. I don't see that it is technical as far as what we are trying to achieve with this. We already established we're going this amount east and we're going this amount west. The only, if we talk about any kind of design issues, I think we're talking about when there is going to be the judging. But once again, I don't see how that is the runway. That's a separate issue which you got to deal with. But is the designing of a runway something that is complicated that should be held back?
It can cost you a lot of money, because I tell you what the contractors do with these. They would give you a design. If you accept the design, every single change that you make after that costs. I'll give you an example. When we did the extension of the runway first time around, the CCM government decided that they would put a chip seal, and they started with chip seal up towards the eastern end. It cost us a small $300,000 to remove the chip seal and then to put down asphalt. The $300,000 was just to remove the chip seal. Had nothing to do with the cost of the asphalt after. But because you had a change in the design, you had to pay. This is how some of these construction companies make quite a bit of money. But even though the designs have not been completed, let me play this clip for you.
So I suppose if you were to ask me, when do I anticipate? This quarter. This quarter we anticipate that we'll move forward with our groundbreaking ceremony and get work started over there at the Van Summer International Airport. Because I want to remind you and remind the general public that we are seeking to undertake this project and have it completed by December of 2026. Okay. For that festive period, we would want to have, at least, the facilities open, ready to receive the world. And that is the plans that we have.
The designs are not completed yet. In this very same interview, Alexis Jeffers said to the public that the matter of the loan, you said that the monies had been secured. But there is a clip here where Alexis Jeffers said that the loan application was to go to the board the Tuesday after he spoke the Friday. So that money up to when he spoke last week Friday was by no means secure. But they have a start date and an end date. That is what is confusing the entire issue.
There is also a communication issue. There is a communication issue in that, once again, we have a major project that is taking place where we have had consultation over the last couple of years, and where we have been engaged over the last decade with the company. This is going to be a major capital investment. And as you said, with less than 24 months, because we are already at the end of January right now, and nothing has been done. And he's saying this quarter in CCM language mean April. They will just really get there. So you're talking about 20 months to complete a major project, and we have not finished the designs, and we do not know how much this is going to cost the public at this particular moment in time.
Let's look at financing, because we heard from Alexis Jeffers that, listen, let's put it on the record. Let's play that clip.
Well, the federal government, we have sought their assistance with the financing of the purchase of the lands that we're buying to expand the airport. Now, I can say that loan, I think the board is going to be meeting next Tuesday, the 28th of January, to finalize that loan that will be somewhere in the region of 20 million East dollars to pay for all of the lands, which I will say that we are seeking to purchase about 50 plus acres of lands, substantial amount of lands. So the Van Summer International Airport and the property on a whole will be expanded tremendously with this particular purchase to give NASPA the management of almost 100 acres of land over there. So that is what the federal government is seeking to assist us with. And of course, like I said, next Tuesday, the board will meet, the National Bank board that is, and we're hoping to have, that approval in short order so we can proceed.
So Alan, you thought that the monies were available. Alexis Jeffers just made it clear that that was not the case. That loan application had to go before the National Bank Board on Tuesday, and hopefully it was approved. A lot of Nivisions thought that what they were getting from the federal government was going to be a grant. But all the federal government did, as the major shareholder in National Bank, was to say to them, listen, this will come to you from the NIA for a loan, and we would wish that you would smile on them and say yes. So this $20 million is not yet in the bank for NIA.
And this was part of the miscommunication and part of my disappointment at the recent press conference. Because the point I was making was, we have this major capital investment, and you come at the first press conference of the year, all of us looking forward to it, and you basically give me a rundown at NNC. You tell me all kind of thing what happened. Things that are on Facebook that we already know. Whereas we need information. We are craving information on the airport, and we are nervous because lesser amounts have been allocated to different capital projects, and those projects have not come to fruition. So when you're talking about this level of investment, there is definitely concern. And I cannot understand how you will not come out at a press conference and address it. The people are not supposed to be asking for an update. You're supposed to provide some tangible information, and they are supposed to respond based on that, asking for even more information, in my opinion.
Alan, the funding for this airport project is not nearly as secure as people are believing. And I tell you why. Up to last week, Friday, when Alexis Jeffers went on the show to try to explain away the airport project, they were still hopeful that the Taiwanese would put some funding into it. And I have a clip there with that part, and I will get to Mr. Drahi. Because when we get to Drahi, we are going to have to try to get to the bottom of whether or not Drahi is in, he's out, whether he is in with his words, in with his money, because I saw an article which was written since last year. And Mr. Drahi might not be as solvent as some people might think. But let's listen to Alexis Jeffers, first of all, hoping that the Taiwanese would be a part of this project.
We've also engaged the Republic of China Taiwan ICDF, and we are seeking their support and financing for, and I'll go over all of the necessary items that will be covered by the different parties. In terms of the ICDF, we're looking to get financing or seeking financing from the ICDF for the upgrade of the passenger terminal, the construction of the fire hall, the upgrade of the control tower, the construction of the new bypass, if you want to call it a bypass road, or the new aligned or realigned road, and also the customs building, because we're removing all of the customs, those packages that come in via those cargo airlines, FedEx and DHL and other cargo companies. We're moving them out of the passenger terminal.
Stick up in, Alan. Let's play the Drahi tape and then get your response.
Mr. Drahi, now his financing is for the extension of the runway, and we'll go into details as to what will be done under each particular heading, of course. The extension of the runway, both eastwards and westwards, the reinforcement of the runway, the upgrade of the lighting along the airfield, and also the construction of brand new parking apron. We'll also be upgrading the apron directly in front of the passenger terminal itself, and of course construction of a brand new parking apron, and also the construction of an FBO, which is a fixed base operation. Now, the fixed base operation is actually what is utilized by persons who fly in on those private jets or business jets. Instead of them going into the passenger terminal and mixing with the regular passengers there, they get that particular type of service through the fixed base operation, where you have customs and immigration and the likes in that particular facility. So those are what the funding from Mr. Drahi would cover.
Alan, tell me about Drahi, because he seems to be under some economic pressure in a significant amount of his business endeavors.
Even Sotheby's is under pressure at this moment in time, because that one was one that he was holding his head high upon. I think he has recently shifted his residence to Israel from Switzerland. So even Switzerland, he has left at this particular moment in time. The last number I saw was that his companies are $60 billion in debt, because he has raised, the way how he has raised value in his companies is by leveraging. So he borrows a lot of money, and because interest rates are where they are at this particular moment in time, he is, and also I think he invested in cable companies, all of that. It's no longer relevant. So somebody is going to buy up his companies. His personal wealth went from 16 billion to right now is around 6. So he lost about 66% of that. So with all of these being said, these are the reasons why I have been skeptical recently of Mr. Drahi.
The story that I read says that, let me see, $21 billion worth of Drahi debt comes due by the end of 2027.
Yes.
Billions. That's not small change.
Definitely. And as I said, it's all of the different companies, even Sotheby's recently is in trouble. The art market has since during the pandemic, people were staying home and they were investing their money in art, but they have since changed. And then also the fact that the value has gone down, people even pulling out of the market. They were supposed to do an action in China, and their competition, which I think is Christie's, they were able to go ahead and do it. Whereas Sotheby's right now, it's not happening for the company. And once again, all of them are built on high leverage debt. So this is the issue. The high interest payments, they're coming due. When you look at how the deal is structured, and why I was saying it's a real estate play, what they're seeking from Drahi is to do the FBO, which for persons who are not familiar, I think Sinkits has one. Basically, it's gonna be a place where the VIPs could come in, that type of situation, and you leave from there. They have all the amenities that the airport would have. You go straight to the plane, that type of thing. But he is gonna be interested in the FBO. He's gonna be interested in the fuel farm. And I think when you're looking at how the deal is structured ultimately, the revenues and the splits from these are gonna be important. How much is Drahi going to extract? Is it gonna be that he has it for a period of years, and he extracting for that period of years? Is it going to be a situation where he's going to recoup a certain amount? So these are things to pay attention to as far as the real estate aspect. When they do all of this improvement, it's going to be to sell jet fuel and to get as many bodies through that FBO as possible.
When we looked at the original agreement and you looked at the split, it was heavily in favor of the lender, Drahi. In addition to that, Alan, what we found out is that even after the government had completed the repayment of the debt, for 7 years later, we were still supposed to be paying. It makes absolutely no sense. But what is even more important here for me is that with Drahi under so much pressure throughout the world, in the US, for example, one of his companies, Altice, they lost 51,000 broadband customers. That's not small.
No. And they are not a major player in the market, so it's not like when Comcast or X-Infinity lose 51,000. And even for them, losing 51,000 is a major circumstance. I think that the second part of how the deal is structured and what you have to realize from the initial is that now you're hearing about they also seeking a bigger part from Taiwan.
Yes.
They want them to do the roads. They want them to do basically the public aspects. So the terminal that the general public would go through, they want them to do that. They want them to do the custom building. They want them to do the fire hall, the control tower. This is in an effort to get some free and to make it more attractive for Drahi. So I think really what happened is Drahi, as you say, is not as liquid. I don't think he because initially I think they were looking for a larger portion of money from him. Whereas now I think that they're trying to mitigate some of the liability and some of the risk to the Taiwanese, which is a separate question as to what we're giving them in return. But that's a separate question.
It is.
But when you look, the Taiwanese are there to kind of make sure Drahi has to put in less. As you say now, we have to look at the negotiation, because I do not feel like he could put in less and still earn compensation that is heavily in his favor. These are things that need to be renegotiated.
Alan, we'll take a break. When we come back, I want to take a look at the Public Accounts Committee. Let's discuss that right after this.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
PICO, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166yahoo.com. PICO, the way to go.
Welcome back to Tell Me. It's Powell Overload, and it's Alan Powell and Carlisle Powell. Alan, the standing orders of the National Assembly, Section 70, deals with the Public Accounts Committee. So we are looking at that, but we are also looking as well as at the Public Accounts Committee Act, because we want to read both of them together. Let me read from the Act first of all. It says that the Public Accounts Committee is established under Section 70, subsection 1 of the Standing Orders. The membership of the committee shall be in accordance with Section 70, subsection 2 of the Standing Orders, and shall be as follows. In the case of 5 members, 3 members shall be from the government, and 2 members shall be from the members of the opposition. In the case of 3 members, 2 members shall be from the government side, and 1 member shall be from the members of the opposition. Each member shall hold office during the pleasure of the National Assembly, and so on. Going down to chairman. There shall be a chairman of the committee pursuant to the provisions of Section 70, subsection 3 of the Standing Orders. And if the leader of the opposition is a member of the committee, he or she shall be offered the option to chair the committee before all other members. I'm going to stop there, because we have heard an argument here in Nevis from the Premier, who is a lawyer and who has been a member of the Federal Parliament since 2007, has been a member of the Nevis Island Assembly since 2013, and has been Premier since 2017. He seemed to be raising an argument that since there is no leader of the opposition, in his view, that there can't be a Public Accounts Committee. Your thoughts?
I would disagree with the Premier wholeheartedly. Maybe this legislation was made specifically for him, but there is no mention. The only mention of the leader of the opposition is where there is one, and that person would be granted the opportunity to be the chairman. And this also follows the same practice as happens in the UK, which is where we got our laws from. I wanted to add to what you were saying. When you're looking at the Public Accounts Committee, they examine the audited reports. So actually have somebody who even supposed to be behind the auditor. They examine the audited reports. If there are certain things in the audited reports that come to their attention, they make a note of these and send these before Parliament. They are also supposed to make a report. So the role of the Public Accounts Committee is necessary if you are going to properly scrutinize how the government is spending their money. It says here that they assess value for money. So you need that important check and balance, and it is also a bipartisan committee. So it is not supposed to be dominated by any one party. The goal is not any political favor. And also, the mandate is as such as you are not supposed to use it politically. But when we go through the audited reports and we see certain things, for example, where they say our orders don't have in the amount, the purchase does not mention the amount. This is something where the Public Accounts Committee could actually bring in those department heads, bring in these persons and find out what is going on. And they have this mandate. So when you do not have the Public Accounts Committee, this is where you could open up yourself to all type of fraudulent activity.
It is my considered argument that Mark Brantley has deliberately not enacted the Public Accounts Committee because he does not want his dealings in government to be scrutinized. The Public Accounts Committee has the power to summon witnesses. The committee may summon the Financial Secretary, a Permanent Secretary, or a Permanent Secretary as the Chief Accounting Officer of a Department of Government, or the Accountant General to appear before it to give evidence. They could summon witnesses. And they have a duty to report annually to Parliament. So there is nothing in there that says that if there is no leader of the opposition, you should not have a Public Accounts Committee. As a matter of fact, you should read it the other way. You should at all times have a Public Accounts Committee. And that committee must report to Parliament.
My argument is there are only two standing committees. And standing committee means that once there is Parliament, as long as there's a government in Nevis, there must be the Finance Committee and there must be the Public Accounts Committee.
Correct.
With regards to the select committees, those are at the discretion, I think, of the President. Now, you raise an interesting question, and this is something that I am considering. I am not necessarily certain that this should just be for the Premier to ensure that there is a standing committee. This might be one of the questions where I might have to look at the President. And I'm also looking at Janice, because I'm not certain I've heard Janice make this argument. But certainly, I think that there may be a responsibility for the President of the House of Assembly to ensure that a standing committee is up and functioning. It is also the President's house, in my estimation.
Absolutely correct. But you had an interesting mention there. Let's look at some audit reports. And I look at one for 2020, for example. And let's read number 4. Number 3. It has come to the attention of the Audit Office that appropriation warrants have been granted to cover Culturama celebrations and outstanding bills for Culturama events for the past 2 years. Appropriation warrants were granted for national celebration in the amount of $300,000 for 2019, $300,000 for 2018. Also, appropriation warrants were approved for outstanding bills for Culturama events for $833,300 for 2019 and $765,000 for 2018. This raises concerns whether the actual strict budgetary requirements do not apply to these events. It's 2019. 2020. We noted several orders where the quantities of items sought were not indicated on the orders. 2021. Ministries should carefully plan their capital expenditure projects, since projects that are not properly planned or budgeted for can cause large unfavorable variances. 2022. Additionally, the audit report identifies a weakness in the ordering process where the quantities of items requested are not specified in the orders. This deficiency poses a potential risk for fraudulent activities. This is only a sample, Alan. But the auditors have been saying time and time and time again that by just writing an order and leaving the body of the order blank, it is a recipe for stealing. The government has not responded. They have not changed anything.
And this is why I say the Public Accounts Committee is important, because they would have the opportunity to call the actual department head in and say, hey, this is happening. Where you calling in a department head continuously, and we know we have a habitual line stepper, at least now we are able to hold this person accountable, in my estimation. The premier who has been, in my estimation, doing bad politics by attacking civil servants, if he said he wants civil servants to be disciplined, why is he standing in the way of the Public Accounts Committee? This is a committee made to hold people accountable and to bring transparency to the process.
You're absolutely right. But then again, Alan, when you look at the last audit report, one of the persons, one of the ministers, who has absolutely no regard for the rules of budgeting is the Premier. It says clearly that the Premier has overspent in more than one of his ministries. And when you see this coming up in the audit report, you have a problem. Because if the head of the fish is already rotten, the whole of the fish is rotten. And the auditor made it abundantly clear that here the Premier has been the worst offender in terms of the budget. How can he pull back anybody when he is already bad?
Well, I want to be specific and pinpoint the area of my most concern, because actually, with regards to the recurrent budget, there is an issue I have, but it wasn't particularly in the Ministry of Finance. I think that the major issue for the Ministry of Finance was with regards to the capital expenditure. The auditor would have said, because I think that the Premier laid the blame for the expenditure. I think that he had a budget of about $4 million or something like that. And he would have, yes. It says the budget was 4.65 million and he incurred a total spending of 30.85 million. So I want to be specific and is in the capital account. Now, he would have laid the blame and said that it is only the Rest Haven property. This is on page 34.
I'm with you.
Okay. But when you look at what the auditor said 3 significant purchases were not accounted for in this year's budget. The purchase of bus stops, which equated to $420,000, not accounted for. The acquisition of the Herbert's Beach land was not accounted for, 2.17 million. And then you have the Rest Haven property. So it must be noted, even when the Premier is talking about just the Rest Haven property, with these things that were not mentioned, he would have still been over anyway.
Correct.
The other thing to note about this particular audited report, the Premier came out and made it sound like he had to say so this year. This audited report is in reaction to 2023.
Correct.
It is only in December of 2024 that the Premier has come to the people and said what is taking place. As a matter of fact, I was looking at the budgets, and it is only in 2022 that you find anything about Rest Haven in the budgets. And this is after 2018, where in the Premier's first budget, his first throne speech, he announced that he is looking forward to the restoration of the West Haven area. He spoke about there's going to be office space, there's going to be yacht, there's going to be all kind of thing, and it's going to be the extension of Charlestown. And he said that in the throne speech, and none of that was mentioned in the budget. Even when you look at the amounts that are mentioned in the budget for compensation to West Haven, the amount every year from since 2022 has been $0.00, including this year.
But here is the argument, Alan, because the Premier this year had to give an account of the West Haven money. Why? Because he knew that it was going to be in the audit report.
Yes, precisely. 1 year later. He should have been vexed since last year if he didn't want to.
Correct.
Been vexed since 2023. The reason, and one of the reasons why he get vexed too, is because all of a sudden people are speaking about the audited reports.
Correct.
He has been speaking about the audited reports and talking about how wonderful it is. Now that we are reading the audited reports, he's disappointed. So it was a preemptive strike. And even one of the things that the auditing reports mentioned, which I found amazing considering his attitude in 2023. 2023 was the largest budget deficit in the last 10 years, 35 million.
Correct. But let me take you through, because the Premier is pretending that he is vexed. I want people to understand that he is only pretending because he was caught. This information he knew was going to be in the audit report, had already been set in ink in the audit report. But let me take you back. You referred to 2018, where the Premier spoke about the redevelopment, paragraph 55 in the budget report for 2018. Yes. He spoke about the redevelopment of the West Haven property, and he said is expected to come on stream during this fiscal year. The project, when completed, would facilitate the expansion of Charlestown and add diversity to the tourism sector by creating a boardwalk, retail shops, restaurants, office space, conference facilities, and a marina facility. I heard him as late as the press conference said that NRP did not say why they acquired the property. But he knew because he put it in his budget report. This is a budget from 2018, paragraph 55. But let's go to 2019. In 2019, paragraph 54, it says, Mr. President, we continue to aggressively seek a developer for the old Rest Haven Hotel property. That's Mark Brantley. In 2019, he didn't say anything in 2020. Let's go to 2021. Paragraph 47. We continue to work closely with the proposed developers of the Rest Haven Inn property. Well, if he is working closely with the proposed developers, it means that he had been in communication with somebody. They were in conversation and somebody was showing some interest. But this man is coming to us. He came to us in December. He still continued to come to us, pretending that he vexed and he don't know anything about the West Haven property. Let's take another budget. Let's go to 2022. Paragraph 54. We continue to incentivize a number of proposed and ongoing developmental projects, including the development of the Rest Haven property. 2022. Let's go to 2023.
Wait there. Before you move to 2023, I want to tell you that in 2022, a payment of $2.something million was paid to West Haven. So
you're absolutely correct.
Go ahead.
But even though that payment was made, Mark Brantley this year in the budget came out swinging and he said that, listen, the ballooning of the debt is NRP fault from 2007. But he didn't think that people would go back and read and realize that he had paid money before. let me go to 2023. We continue to leverage and seek partnership for the development of the former Rest Haven property to construct a high-end facility consisting of duty-free shops, restaurants, entertainment, and commercial spaces, along with a berthing facility to facilitate small and medium-sized yachts with all attendant services. This will ensure that our island attracts the lucrative and growing yachting market. 2023. What are we going to do with this man? I believe that he lies without even realizing that he's lying nowadays.
I just think that he has a good thesaurus, and he just uses it every year during the budget time. So he just decided what's a synonym for lucrative, and he just do that every year. Because when you look at this, he got one album and he just giving you a slight little remix. It's like he come and he said, let me see how this song gonna sound in a country and western fan. Let me see how he gonna sound as a calypso. Let me go see how we sound as rap. Then that's all what we getting at this particular moment in time. It's recycled, and this is why it has to change at this particular.
But here is the challenge. We are aware that according to our information and according to one of the persons who actually played a part, Mr. Hastings Daniel, we are fully aware that there were some evaluations done of the Rest Haven property after it had been acquired. Here is the challenge. The Premier must have known about these valuations because he himself had to appear in a case before the court. And I want people to understand, I don't want him to think that I'm talking out my head. In the matter of the St. Christopher Nevis Constitution Order 1983, Sections 3 and 8, and in the matter of the acquisition by the Nevis Island Administration of 2.6 acres of land owned by Rest Haven Limited and mortgaged to Kishu Shandi Ramani, between Mohandras Devidas Shandi Ramani and Mohandas is the claimant, and the respondents, Mark Brantley, in his capacity of Minister of Finance in the NIA, and the Attorney General of St. Kitts Nevis. So when Mark is pretending that he didn't know anything about this matter, Mark gave an affidavit. He had to appear in court. He knew. So what he's trying to do now is to fake the fact that, listen, I was blindsided. Mark knew about this acquisition from day one. He was fully aware.
And the thing that the Premier must get through his head as well, just like the auditor said, it is not that you had to pay the money, Mr. Premier. It is not even that you can't attract any investors, Mr. Premier. The fact is that you failed to disclose this in the budget, which is deceptive. It got to be deceptive, and it wasn't the only one. It's the biggest one, and you didn't want us to see it. When you look at it, it was the Premier in that year was 500% over budget.
Correct.
So you don't want us to see that you're 500% over. Mr. Premier, we understand. Finally, Mark Brantley got shared. You know, I'm happy to see just how bad be at spending money. Okay, Mr. Premier, we could understand. But you need to understand the issue is not that you paid the money. It is that the money was paid and it was not written down. That's what the auditor was talking about, the deception. If you pay the money, come before the people. Let us know you spend the money. Don't be vexed 365 days later for something where you know you already do. You've been paying money on it since 2022. At least. You only pay the balance now. Even though every year you budget and say the compensation gonna be $0.00. But once 2022 reach, you could find West Haven. Before that, you do not see West Haven. You only see West Haven in the throne speeches, but you do not see them in the actual budget.
It's a pity. Anyway, Alan, I think we have a clip here that we can go to because Hastings did shed some light on this matter, so I want to make sure that we put that on the record again tonight. Let's hear this.
A joke and a lie in itself.
Okay.
The Nevis Reformation Party sought to take those lands in order to develop the country and expand Charlestown. The owners engaged Steele Douglas to do the valuation.
Sorry, let me just get back to that tape.
The Nevis Island government was then led by the Honorable Patrice Nisbet, who was legal advisor. They asked me if I would put a value on the West Haven lands for them. One for the owner, one for the government. My valuation was minuscule because I did a professional valuation, everything. While mine said X, those from Steele Douglas said X times. We met at Patrice Nisbet's office, at the legal office, and Patrice said we wanted to resolve it. I met with Steele Douglas and I asked him, what you said? You valuing the West Haven land as if all the buildings are new, but nothing is. So we went and got a flesh out some things. In the interim, without any decision being made, any 5 million, I don't know if people say that, because if you hear what my evaluation was, it would have been, that 5 million there would have been skittled. Far, far less. When we, in the negotiations, the government changed. I was the valuer for the government. Government changed. They put up a commission led by, it was then led by, what the fellow name? Tommy Astafan was the what they call him again? They call them the
solicitors.
No, it was a tribunal.
Okay.
And he was the charge of the tribunal. The government, the Nevis Island government, the Concerned Citizens Movement, removed me, the valuer, from those valuations. And replaced me with a man that, I don't know if you know him, but Carl knows him, Michael Doe.
Of course. Jesus Christ.
They removed me, Hastings Daniel, who had done the and everything and had the whole thing planned, ready to fire, ready to go to the tribunal, and they removed me from that and put him to say he will represent them. And then the owners brought a fellow from St. Kitts. The money now gone, and they, Michael Doe and the fellow from St. Kitts and Justice Astafan, Tommy Astafan, they formed the committee. It is they who put the money for West Haven at $5 million US.
Wow.
Plus, everybody knows, once you, if you put that down, when I remember well, when the matter was being discussed, you know, the people at the legal department said, Mr. Dion, you will come down to argue. I said, not me. You can if I argue for you, what happened to you, man? You put there, send you king, man. But it happened so that while that matter was being done at the court here, I had to go to Trinidad to do something when I was at the bank. And so I will never forget the lawyer said to me, "Hey, I hope you not come on there." And I said, "From me, I come on if for my country, if I put down something in ready." And I did the evaluation for West Haven at 5.5 pages. So it ain't a matter of saying that I watch daily and I see daily oil need cutting. I had to do this search, go behind the back, take out everything. So when I did all of that, when I came back here, I said, "What you say?" And then I expect the legal department to appeal the tribunal nomination. Because the tribunal was 5 million US plus 5% per annum. And that is what
What's the value?
yeah, and this is what this cannibal like minister come here saying, that there was some mess. There was no mess. It is they who created the mess. If you see what my valuation was, everybody could have walked away with a sweet Peter deal. Nevis would have gotten his deal. But I said to the owners, and I said, "Boy, you all get through. I have nothing to say about it." But if they appealed and they had gone to the whole thing, Michael doesn't sit down there and say, "Man," because you see, you know one of the reasons why people put that valuation high. The judge gets 2%, and each man gets 1%.
So the higher the higher the get.
Oh, 2% of that and 2% of 20. That's two different 2%. And then, but nobody is concerned about the thing they call me patria, my homeland. And so, no, Mark Bradley need not to. Mark Bradley should tell the truth and say, "Man, the CCM sit down there and let it thing go up and nobody and put on MD and put on everybody and nobody." My valuation was written, it wasn't in my head. It was on the file and sent to the legal department. It was on record.
But I find it interesting that he never once brought up your evaluation.
Ask him that. If he didn't say valuation by Hamron Services, because it's on and all the lawyers on all sides had it. Why didn't he bring up that? And let me tell you, if my valuation was accepted, even with 10 years after, couldn't come to 4 million, 3 million.
Alan, you heard it for yourself. Hastings is not with us anymore, but he left his words recorded. The Board of Assessment, they are the ones who came up with this sum of, well, they say 5 million, but it's actually, when you look at the judgment, on the 21st day of November 2013, the Board of Assessment awarded Restream Limited the sum of $6,362,316.88 with interest at 6% per annum. And this is all because they just didn't want to trust Hastings. They didn't want to accept the Hastings as being a member of the committee and negotiating for government. They wanted their own people. So when Mark Brantley says that NRP is the cause of this huge, recently he stopped saying 20-something million, he now saying 30 million. NRP is the cause of this huge cost to the people of Nevis. That is far from the truth.
And so, in essence, they should have already been paying this money from since 2013.
Absolutely.
And they have been in power for all the last dozen years and could have begun to pay the money at any moment in time to finish after that.
And the 6% interest is the killer.
And listen, that means it even makes it disingenuous in the affidavit when the premier says that he only became aware. Is either disingenuous or he's not aware of what is taking place. I find it strange that you are going to be the deputy premier and in 2013 a major award is made and you tell me you are not made aware of this until 2018 when you come to be the premier. That sounds like when he was in the unity government. I don't know if Vance had him outside at that point in time.
And the legal department were there. So they ought to have reported to the government that, hey, listen, this is what happened in the court before Justice, I think it was Justice Williams. I mean, Mark want people to believe that he was not aware, so the legal department didn't tell him. This is ridiculous.
He is conveniently ignorant of various facts as I say, at convenient times. It's very convenient. Anytime he needs to know, that is an occasion where he will profess and tell you, I did not know. I was not aware. I missed that. I would imagine that if this award is made, that this has to be something that is discussed at cabinet.
Absolutely.
I do not know. And once again, you are the deputy premier at this particular moment in time. You must be keenly aware of things that are taking place.
Okay. At 1:30, we have at least one ticket to give away, maybe two, for the Valentine's cruise that is coming up this Valentine's Day. We're going to ask you a question. So you are going to have to start getting your thinking caps on. I'm not going to tell you what the question is. No. At 1:30, get close to your phones. We're going to be asking you at least one question. We have 2 tickets to give away. So you might get both of them tonight, or you might get one next week. They're fully sponsored, so you get the answer right and you're going to get a ticket. We should also tell you that the Tell Me raffle, the ticket sales are still ongoing. This week, I want you to know that I got a tablet. I also got one of those very lovely KitchenAid mixers. I got some most beautiful hats, and I got some earpods. So we are getting more and more gifts for the Tell Me raffle. Tickets are $10 each, or you can get a whole book for $100. So we want you to be involved in all of those nice things.
I wanted to tell you something else about while we are on finance, you know. I found a discrepancy, and I'm not understanding why the auditor isn't making more of a big deal. Now, when you look at the budget, you will see, I think that the expenditure expected last year was 195, and we actually did 188. The revenue expected was about 146 in the current account. Now, unless you put in the budgetary support, that means every year in the current account, the Premier is budgeting at $50 million deficit. And actually, this is what is happening. Because last year, as I tell you, they spent 188 and they brought in 147. So you're cash poor. Whereas now they are making these modest projections with regards to the capital revenue, but then they're taking the budgetary support and putting it on the capital revenue. And then they will tell you, look how the capital revenue outperformed what they expected. If the budgetary support is adequately accounted for, one of these accounts is not making sense. Because in the capital account, it don't make no sense. You tell me your budget will get 20 million, but you're going to do $74 million in capital projects. The Premier allocates $20 million in 2023 to do 77 projects. How are you going to do that? The only way that makes sense is if the $66 million included, but that's the problem. The $66 million can't be into places at once. The $66 million got to be in the capital account, and we're going to actually budget like we putting in the 66. Or it's going to be in the current account, in which case we're going to have to address that. Because that means every year we running $40 million down on cash. That's not good enough. So I don't know why this isn't being highlighted by the auditor as a major weakness.
I'm with you.
You see? Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're making sense. And we've been saying here on Tell Me that all you're seeing from this government are deficit budgets. and the numbers are rising. That is why we are more than $500 million in debt, despite all of the budgetary support that we have had from St. Kitts.
And what you got to also watch is that the last year, even though the interest payment dropped, the principal payment went up to $20 million.
Correct.
So, and when you add the 12 million for the interest, is roughly $2.5 million every month going out in principal and interest. So that going out in loans. And as much as the Premier has been saying that he's cautious about the loans and low interest loans, when you look at what is actually being brought into loans, it's a lot of money.
Correct.
It's a lot of loans we're taking in these last couple of years.
We have been surviving on loans, and the Premier knows it, but he talks his bullshit in fancy language, and so the people are just concentrating on his 24 accents. We pulls whichever one, depending on who he talking to, and people say he sound good, but while he's sounding good, Nevis in deep shit.
I do not think that the people are focused on that. I think that his followers, there's always gonna be 20 to 30% of the population, regardless of what you do, he is gonna be their king. He's gonna be their goat. He's my goat. So how come he can't be their goat? And you don't need to win everybody, in my estimation. I feel like there is a middle ground. Even when I look at the recent attack. Last night the Premier was saying, look at how people are making small little things into big deals. He just do that with Pat the other day. And he do it because he's under pressure.
Correct.
So he must understand what is taking place.
Listen, let's get to the ads, and then when we come back, we're going to give away those questions. And then we have another issue that we have to delve into, which is major. We're coming back right after this.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Welcome back to Tell Me, and just like that, it's 9:30. We have at least one ticket that we're going to give you a chance to win right now. The numbers that you're going to call are 917-460-2187, 669-7312, 469-7953. Here goes. Tickets for the Valentine's Love Cruise, sponsored by the constituency group in Gingerland, and the early bird special ends tomorrow. You can get your tickets for $125. After tomorrow, you got to pay $25 more. It goes up to $150. I still have some tickets left, so you can catch me for your early bird special tomorrow. Here is the easier of the two questions. Desmond and Pauline Tyson had a restaurant. Where was it located? And what was its name? You have to answer both parts. You answer one, we're not taking that. Desmond and Pauline Tyson had a restaurant. Where was it located? And what was its name? Simple as that. Easy as that, and you can win a ticket. And we're taking adults, because we're not taking any children on this one. This one came in first, so let me take this call. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening. I think that restaurant name was Spawn located at Prince.
No, sorry, you're wrong. So let me go to the next one. Good evening, caller. Hi, good evening, caller.
Good evening. Good evening. The location was just up Culturama Bar.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you if you got one or two, one part right, but I know you didn't get two parts right. So, sorry, caller. Let me go back to this one. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Go right ahead.
The restaurant was on Jessup Beach, and the name of the restaurant was Beachcomber.
Man, you got it right. I believe that you were talking to somebody who gave you the answer. This sounds like my good friend Papa. Yeah. So, Papa, I have a ticket for you. I know where you live, and you know where I live. So, Alan, we got you so quick. We could do the other one?
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Papa. We have another question, too. Here is the other question. How many of Desmond Tyson's girl children lived with Pauline Tyson? That's only one part. You have to give me the names. How many of Desmond Tyson's girl children lived with Pauline Tyson, and what were their names? So that is the harder of the two questions that I see here. One gone already, and this is for the Gingerland constituency boat ride, which is coming up on Valentine's. It's going to be a lovely boat ride. Starts at 6 o'clock, goes all the way until 10. Good music, good food. Second question, how many of Desmond Tyson's girl children lived with him and Pauline Tyson? And you got to give me the names. So once you can do that, we in business. I have another ticket coming in here from a friend of mine, so it looked like I can have a ticket for next week as well. So a friend of mine overseas in the BVI just messaged to say that they are buying a ticket for the giveaway as well. So, and that came in early enough to get the early bird special. So while you're waiting on that and you're thinking up those names, well, there is a call coming in, so let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Caller, good evening. Go right ahead. Turn down the volume on your listening device and go ahead and give me the answer.
Debbie and Andy.
Boy, I'm waiting and to see if you could find any more. You're going good.
Yeah,
but I'm waiting to see if you could find any more.
Debbie and Andy. Debbie, Andy, and
been live with Pauline Tyson. Debbie been live with Pauline Tyson.
You got one.
Yes.
You got one.
Huh?
You got one, but I'm looking for more.
Loretta.
I don't see Loretta on my sheet here.
Okay.
But you got one.
Okay, well.
You're going good. You got one. Thank you very much, caller. Ali Rock, Ali Brains. Go back and think hard. So, in the meantime, we're going to play a little short clip. You think about it. I tell you what, we'll come back to this. It's 9:35. We'll come back to this at 9:45. Start thinking. Start calling people in Jessups and see if you can get the answer. Alan, this one.
It is time for us to get another hotel here on the island of Nevis, no doubt. I believe that there are others who have been contemplating, but because of the difficulties I just spoke about, that is why that they have withheld their investment. We're saying with this construction now, that should be the start of good things to come in the long run. And so I am seeking to I'm speaking to those out there who have been contemplating that things will be ripe for investment in a major hotel. We need to see another hotel here on the island of Nevis, not a name that exists currently. We want to get a name that does not exist in the Caribbean.
I thought most of the hotels in the world were in the Caribbean, but Alexis is asking for a hotel that is not in the Caribbean. I have a list of CCM ghost hotels, starting from Hotel de France to Hyatt to Newfound to Jessop's Palms, all the way down to, including Spencer's Hotel too. I have that on my list. Atlantic View Hotel. CCM has just not been able to consummate hotels coming here to Nevis. Let me take this call, Alan. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
I'm sorry for the answer.
Yes.
Verna, Andy, Debbie.
You got two. I'm looking for another one.
Okay.
You have two of them correct, but I'm looking for one more. So you got to rack your brain and call again.
Okay.
Okay. So, Alan, I have a list of 30 hotels, but what troubles me? Here is Alexis, and I get the impression that Alexis is trying to make trouble and throw some word on somebody. Not just Spencer for his inability to produce the Atlantic View Hotel, but Alexis is aware that there is a hotel which is looking to get into Nevis, and they submitted the EIA. I read the EIA and took my time, read it a couple of times. The hotel that we are talking about is looking to do 30 villas and 150 guest suites. So let me go through that again. 150 guest suites and 30 villas with 1 and 2 bedroom configurations. You're talking about a welcome center of 30,000 square feet.
Wait, you're going too fast, man. You got to say luxury.
Luxury.
Yes.
You're right.
You have to use the luxury. We're going to use the thesaurus tonight.
Luxurious spaces. Good evening, caller.
Yes, good evening. Teresa, Andy, Debbie.
Teresa, Andy, and Debbie. Boss, you got them right. You stumped me. You're the winner. You stumped me. The three girls were Debbie Tyson, Andy Mills, and June Teresa Brown. You stumped me, and I know the voice, so I will have your ticket. Okay. You got me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, if you're calling in, we have a winner. So give Alan and I a couple of minutes to deal with this hotel, and then we are going to be taking your calls. We're not necessarily stopping at 10 because we have sponsorship for another half an hour. So you have a welcome center of 30,000 square feet, providing main hotel operations with guest check-in, all-day dining restaurant, various other foods and beverage outlets with a retail component. You have the main hotel building with 225,000 square feet. And the main hotel building will house 150 luxurious guest suites, all with ocean views, as well as a central hanging garden along the length of the building. Each suite will have a balcony, and the ground floor suites will have on-grade terraces. You have the villas, 68,000 square feet. And you're talking about 30 villas. And again, let me use Alan's word, luxurious. Mm-hmm. Each villa will have highly curated outdoor spaces for alfresco dining, extensive landscaping, and so on. You will also have a spa and fitness center, conference hall, infinity pool, fine dining. The premier would like that, Alan. Fine dining. Mm-hmm. Fine dining restaurant, which will provide world-class culinary experience for guests of the hotel as well as the public. You have a tennis center, central utility plant, and so on. What caught my attention? The main electrical system will be backed up with 100% backup service via diesel generators. Additionally, solar PV panels will be installed on the flat roof of the main hotel building, as well as the back of the house plant, and integrated into the grid. This hotel, which is called the Nivision, the development is expected to take between 20 and 27 months of construction. You're talking about over at Paradise, right next to where the preschool is. That stretch of land heading down to the beach. We all know that that is a lovely beach down there. And so that is where the hotel is earmarked to go.
They would also acquire some of the land on the opposite side of the road as
Yeah,
well.
man. It's 29 acres on the seaside.
Yeah.
And 3.4 acres on the other side.
Good.
You got the maths, Alan, you know the thing. So this is a total of 32.4 acres where they are going to transform Nevis. The EIA has been before the government. The people have spoken at length to the government about this hotel project. And I want to turn over to page 65 of the EIA, because I tell you that I read the thing back and front. Employment opportunities. The hotel project will create jobs across a wide range of disciplines, including managerial, supervisory, technical, and professional positions. You're talking about 250 construction jobs over a period, gave you the period, 27 months? 350 operational phase jobs. Local labor will be the first priority wherever possible. Training of locals to operate and maintain the building systems. They are estimating 45,000 visitors annually to patronize local artisans, taxis, restaurants, and other ancillary services. But here's the part that jumped out at me. Revenue generation. The construction of the hotel is estimated at $400 million US dollars. $400 million US dollars. Now, these people, I understand, have been talking to the NIA for years. This is the same hotel, Northern Point, that was supposed to go over Cades Bay. Not Cades Bay, Patworks. The same hotel. They changed the location and are in discussions where I understand they were supposed to close on the land since last year, June. But you can't close on the land when the government giving you all kind of trouble to get the project going. My understanding in my digging is that in response to the EIA, the government has sent back a 5-page letter asking all kind of ticky-tack questions. Their concern mainly has to do with the wetland. Let me tell you something. This Nivision, Northern Point Nivision, call it what you may, the wetlands over there at Paradise are not nearly as extensive as the wetlands that we had at Four Seasons. But the Four Seasons Hotel was built. These people have bent over backwards to say, this is how we will mitigate. This is how we are willing to change the plans. But maybe because certain people not involved legally or in the real estate aspect of it, these people have been prevented from making any progress. They can't buy the land until the government tell them, yes, proceed. Alexis Jeffers is here saying Nevis needs another hotel. Alexis, to my mind, is indirectly throwing some word at them and saying to them, you have the Northern Point. which is going to be called the Nivision, and all your farm in the ass. You're talking about 400 million US dollars worth of development. And the government has been very silent about this. Then I say nothing. You're talking about construction jobs in a time when things slow in Nevis. 250 construction jobs. 2 years of construction. 150 luxurious rooms and 30 villas. And Alan, I don't know what is your response to this, but I'm sure you have seen the EIA and the numbers are all encouraging for Nevis.
Well, I do think that the wetlands issue is a valid concern.
I think so too.
I went about my research in a slightly different manner. So what I does do, when the premier give me a big name, I go by them. And I'm even on their website right now. It's NP Nevis. Northern Point Nevis. In the media section of this page, they have not updated. There has not been a story from since December 6, 2018. In which case, they say that they have just signed a historic agreement with the NIA and how they would be starting construction in 2019. Once again, my thing about this, why I didn't go extensive into the research, is because what I found was this is another remix. Because you could find stories as early as 2014, and in the story in 2014, they're telling you we have been talking for 2 years.
Okay. So you're going back to 2012. Hold the line, Alan. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. Just a thought. How many jobs did you say would be created with this hotel post-construction?
Let me find the page because I don't want to. 350 operational phase jobs.
Okay. You realize what 350 people getting jobs there? It makes them independent and not reliant on the government to work.
You have a point.
I'm wondering if that's what's scaring them. Because 350 people working independent, it gives them independence. They don't rely on government for their livelihood.
I think that the government should be happy for the income tax.
But the island should be happy for the tax. But the government wants to stay in power.
Indeed.
There is the conflict of interest. And on a couple of earlier matters, the airport deal. Initially, the loan from Mr. Dry was supposed to be at 2%. Well, I'm assuming the whole thing has been renegotiated. So I wonder what the percentage is now.
Hope it's not higher than 2%.
Well, if I was renegotiating, I would want more than 2%.
You got a point too.
You know, so I noticed that hasn't been mentioned. The amount of money has been mentioned, but not at what rate and what terms. And as they say, the devil is in the details.
True.
But then again, that would need transparency.
And that is not easy from this government.
It is not one of our strong points.
You're quite right. Thank you very much, caller.
Part of the issue with why there is no transparency is that planning is a problem. Because if you are able to plan, then at least at different junctures you could say, well, this is what we're dealing with. Right now, the premier he operate off a notion. He got a kind of feeling that this should happen, and he string it together like us. But there is not an actual step by step process that you're seeing going on. His idea of a plan is let's get $20 million and we're gonna pay the landowners, and after that we're gonna see where we go from there. That is not a plan, as far as I could see. A plan.
But here is the challenge. The premier might get the loan, should get the loan of $20 million. But they haven't negotiated with all of the landowners yet, Because I've been speaking to some people who should be impacted and who have indicated that nobody has come to tell them anything about their lands. This don't make a hell of a lot of sense, but I'm gonna leave that as it is. But
I was glad that you were able to find the price for the Northern Point property, because I was looking all over. So $400 million. One of the reasons, again, I would be skeptical about this property is, as I told you, I see no mentions from them in the media concerning them renewing any interest in this deal. I'm seeing it from the NIA side. And if you are going to be spending $400 million, first of all, I think Mark Bradley is going to be excited. He's not going to keep that there down for long. If this really is moving towards a $400 million acquisition in St. Thomas's Parish. So I'm just skeptical right now. I'm not fooled by drawings. Even when you look at it, it doesn't seem like they have gotten any kind of approval yet. So, all these drawings and renderings and EIA, I think that was kind of an attempt by them to say, this is the best we could do.
I am told that there has been communication from a government department to the people at Northern Point in 2024, last quarter of 2024. So the government and Northern Point are in communication with one another. The EIA went in, and I am told that there was a response from the relevant department, physical planning department, to the people at Northern Point. And in that response, they were asking some questions, seeking clarification. Some of the matters, I'm told, were matters that you could sit down across the table and discuss with one another, and then you confirm them in writing.
The reason why it is important to hear announcements about these things is because just like how the premier is going to be happy to make this grand announcement, the people at Wyndham are also going to be happy. There were articles about how they were going to be improving their footprint in the Caribbean by adding Nevis as a luxurious destination and all these type of things. So if you are not seeing the same energy from Wyndham, and by the same energy, I am not talking about an EIA. I am talking about actual press conferences. I am talking about actual groundbreaking. I am talking about, and we will even know this more than we know from the government. I am talking about, you will hear that these people have gotten some kind of loan to go ahead and build this property, or they have consolidated something with the partner. So this is not going to be a silent situation. This is not like how the NIA does work. These are private investors who are being asked to put in, we could say, 150 million US dollars for 150 rooms. And also, in my mind, that number sounds low. If we're gonna say 150 rooms and then 30 luxury villas and then we're talking about infinity pools and that $150 million sound optimistic to me.
400 million, not 150.
Is 400 million US?
400 million US dollars. It's on page 65 of the EIA.
Listen, there is no way Mark Brantley is going to be sitting on $1 billion UEC investment and ain't coming and tell us. I do not think that this is happening. And even to believe this, I need to hear from those people. As you say, we don't hear about all kind of ghost hotel from the premier. I ain't taking no confirmation from the premier. I want confirmation from Northern Point that they are indeed moving forward. $400 million, you can't do it silently. There is no way to do it silently.
So you're ready to have an announcement by Northern Point, because the premier has been burned several times before.
Indeed, he remember he instead of him doing the whining and dining, it seems like he goes to these occasions, he meets these people, and they somehow dazzle him, and they promise him how they are gonna. I thought he's supposed to be the one doing the whining and dining, but he seems to be wine and dine and has these delusions of grandeur that these people are actually gonna come.
Suppose,
and as they say, I wanna hear them got the money.
Suppose Mark Brantley is just a poor negotiator, and because he has not been able to consummate one of these projects, he just does not know how to do it.
I tend to feel, based on the evidence, especially politically, I feel like we have enough evidence to say that that is the case. And this does not take away from his legal career or his legal practice. I'm just saying, politically, I have not seen evidence of good negotiation. Even when you look at, as I say, Northern Point said they had already signed a contract with the government since 2018.
And we saw pictures. We saw pictures of the premier signing whatever.
MSR would have signed a contract to make 35 movies. The premier is boasting and say he get 10. Now, in any other scenario, if anybody contracts with Mark Brantley to do 35 or anything and you deliver 10, I promise you're going to the High Court. If you ain't going to the High Court, you're reaching by the magistrate. But if you in a contract with Mark Brantley to deliver 35 and you deliver 10, he not going to end up and say, well, even if a mango, he not going to say, well, you say you're going to give me mango and a mango may get. You say you're going to give me 35 mango? I want me 35 mango. You're 25 sharp. We consistently see people sign deals with the government and just walk away. And the premier can still come and say, oh, this is a wonderful thing. We say we want a movie? No. We signed for a particular amount of movies, sir. And we did not get those. So the contract was breached. We can't continue to say that this is wonderful. We cannot allow, and that was my big thing, we cannot allow people to breach contracts with the NIA and just walk away and say, these people are wonderful. No. There must be some level of enforcement. The premier is telling people that if you're a noise on your land right now, go and see your local lawyer and sue them for nuisance. He sue for everything except when it's in the interest of the people and neighbors. I don't understand those things there.
What about the bid contract? He said that they were taking the matter to court. We haven't heard anything about that. What about the quantity surveyor from Sinkits who he said that they paid? He has not come back to tell us because he said he was taking the matter to court. We haven't heard any results from those.
Even in the instance of fair share, there is a very clear part In the Constitution, we say if the administration and the government have issue, the High Court could resolve it.
Correct.
We have been over and over up to the point now where the Premier is meek and mild. He said, well, I understand the issue now. It's not just about the CBI. Dr. Ju, what he want to do, he want to be comprehensive. And he want... when one thing I agree with the Premier with, we didn't need to go to them World Bank and all them things. The mechanism is right there. He's a liar. Go down in the High Court. Tell them you want your fair share, because you know the Constitution, you know all your rights. Show them the provision and let them interpret it. We did not need the World Bank. I want a St. Kitts and Nevis. I want a true federation in which, just like America, Florida does sue the United States all the time, and the United States does sue Florida, because there are states within the federation. Sometimes you got to sue the federal government for your local NIA rights. It is necessary, and it is a mechanism in the Constitution to protect against these type of things. But when you need the $20 million, and listen, when we really look at the contribution of the St. Kitts government to the airport, is more than the 20 million, because we are not going to get Taiwanese money unless the federal government say, you go ahead and get that. So and see, now we're going into a whole constitutional thing, but these are really the issues as to why the Premier has been ineffective in his role as the federal opposition. Because he needs things locally, in which case he cannot, in his federal capacity, come out and be vigorous in opposition to Dr. Joe. Because locally, which is why I've been saying I can't see why Alexis Jefferson is not the opposition leader. Because at least he could have made noise. He not got nothing to do. The only thing he have to do, he have to keep his show on Fridays. So if there's parliament on a Friday afternoon, he would miss those shows. But outside of that, let Alexis go be the bulldog. In my mind, but you know.
Okay, I got you. And I totally agree with you. The premier really, no premier of Navy should be the leader of the opposition. It don't make any sense. Because if you're going to do your job effectively, you're going to have to ask some tough questions. And when you finish asking the tough questions publicly, you still have to come back with your hand outstretched based on the way how they have this. If Mark Brantley had codified...
gave him that opportunity, that's how he got into politics. He was the leader of the opposition first, before anything. So he understands. But he seems to have gotten up in the roof, and rather than left down the ladder so that other people go climb up, he not kick it down, no, he haul up the ladder.
Oh, okay.
He not kick down the ladder. He haul up the ladder. You go build your own ladder. Work out how you gonna get up here by yourself. That is what I am saying. But go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're gonna take our final break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we still have a couple of things that we want to discuss.
PICO, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. PICO, the way to go.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need, tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need, tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need.
Thank you very much and welcome back to Tell Me. It's Powell Overload number 3. Alan Powell and Carlisle Powell in the studio. It's after 10, but we're good until at least 10:30, and then I'm going home. Alan is home. I have to go home. The Premier has been under a lot of pressure recently, Alan. The whole mold issue at the hospital. The Premier said that he visits the hospital very often, but he seemed only to become aware of the whole mold issue after he inquired. He said he visit often, but maybe he just go see one or two people and go home. He inquired and he found out, but he said he's in is in a part of the hospital that they don't use. It's down in the basement. A caller last week had to call in and say he was not aware the hospital had a basement. They have a ground floor, and the mold is down there. He seemed to think that mold is something that you can contain simply by shutting off an area. And then from some clips that I've heard, he seemed to be chastising people and telling them mold in your house too. A lot of people have mold in their houses, and they're only pretending that they're sick and all kind of thing. But the hospital itself, we have a hospital that was announced in 2014, that they started to build in 2017, that they said that they had some issues, so they paused and they had to get a new quantity surveyor. They brought in 3 sets of people to advise them how to go, where to go with the hospital. We have gone past 20 million in my estimate. And your show, you were able on Real Entertainment Network to show that the numbers were wrong with respect to the numbers that were given by the junior minister, Janil Nisbet. The Premier came on your show, you were able to point it out. Lady Nisbet said it was 8 million and that she had all of her receipts. Hazel Brandy had said closer to 14. The Premier later confirmed that it was more in the area of $15 million. But after all the money, we ain't got no hospital. They said they would start in the first quarter of 2025. We're at the end of the first month. They have not started anything at the hospital. And the Premier at his press conference could not say when they would start. I mean, this really is a major concern for people in Nevis.
Well, Chev Lewis was the one who was able to find the discrepancy, and I was just the one who brought it to the public. So I will give her props for finding the discrepancy. With regards to this issue, this is a retread once again. And the alarm for me is that in your budget, you told me you are committing $12 million to restart the hospital project. Those were the exact words. And then he went on to say that he's 100% committed. Now, if you are going to say you are 100% committed, I would assume that once again at your first press availability, that you are going to come and tell me something. Something. Just like, do me the same thing. Now is when I want the MSR thing. I want something. Give me 10 out of 35. But to come and not say anything regarding a major project. And then not only that, there is another set of waffling that he's doing. I'm not sure if you're aware of this one, but he goes up and he says, well, you don't understand the budgetary process. Just because I say I'm allocating $12 million does not mean that I will be spending $12 million. And this further highlights the need for plans, especially with regards to financing. How the hell we allocating $12 million and have no justification for these $12 million? Once again, the Premier is saying, well, if I find the $12 million somewhere, we're going to go ahead with the project. And the frightening part is we got 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. In none of those years, according to your logic, were you able to come up with the funds? And in some of those years, what you allocated was much less than $12 million. So basically, your logic of telling me trying to reassure people and say, I always let you know we will be prudent. No, Mr. Premier. The prudence must come in actually understanding and explaining to the people how we are going to finance these projects.
Let's take a call, Alan. Remember the point.
Sorry,
Good evening, caller. Hi, good evening. You're coming through low. No, you're still coming through very low.
Yeah, you can hear.
And Alan is not hearing you at all. No, call me back, caller. Try another call, because it's low and Alan is not hearing you. Okay. Alan, you were talking about the health and the way the Premier is reporting that.
Yeah, so I'm just saying it is not comforting. He's trying to comfort people and say, just because he was asked this, just because I allocate 12 million, that does not mean that we spent 12 million. We are only going to spend the money if we make the money. Mr. Premier, you have consistently shown me that you are not going to make the money. So rather than tell me all of these long stories, just tell me you're not going to the hospital again. But this is my big thing is this cannot be what 100% commitment look like. Don't tell me you're 100% committed and then January 1st thing you're not going to tell me nothing. You have to be asked by a reporter, and your response is our update is we have no update. And I can't tell you we're gonna start next month and we're gonna start. Otherwise I'm gonna get what?
I'm gonna come back to that, Alan. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Powell.
You're loud and clear this time.
Okay. As you're on health, in the last 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, I had two real good friends who passed away. One passed away in St. Kitts, and I think if the situation was better in Nevis, where you had the dialysis machines up and running, he might have been alive still today. Because after things get so bad, he had to end up living in St. Kitts to get dialysis. The second one, a good friend of mine buried yesterday, Joseph, and they call him Massey from over in Fountain Village. Massey buried yesterday. Massey dead at the hospital. And my thing is, Massey went to the hospital, and because Massey didn't have money for an operation, no doctor at the hospital look at Massey. Carlisle, I can remember the many years NRP preach about a national health insurance. I know that things have started with that. And in 2025, you're telling me that people are dying at the hospital because they don't have money for coverage. And next thing, this is the last point I'm going to make. When we hear the premier say, oh, they're not getting their medication from St. Kitts, ask the premier, and I need anybody to the next press conference, the premier next press conference, ask the premier, when last the press St. Kitts any money for the medication that has been coming over? Good night.
Thank you very much. Alan, even before you come in, I just want to make two little points. One, I have a file here in front of me which was presented in February of 2012. It was presented to the Nevis Island administration by the Princeton Healthcare Profile with Executive Management Team, prepared for Minister Hensley Daniel. And you know, this was all about Nevis and the Nevis Island administration setting up health insurance for the people of Nevis. 2012, February of 2012. And this is something that the Joseph Parry-led administration was working on. Second point I want to make, you see, elections have consequences. When people voted out Hensley Daniel and the rest of the team, they were voting against themselves. Because when you have a serious medical problem, you're going to have to sell a lot of Johnny cake and saltfish breakfasts to get that person on a plane, to get them overseas for treatment if it is not available here. But let me show you how serious the CCM is about healthcare. You have a major matter like the Alexandra Hospital extension. And in the budget of the last budget that was presented in December, Alan Powell, the premier devoted 3 sentences to the hospital.
Indeed.
If you go to page 39 of the budget, paragraph 157, the premier, 90 words. I count them myself. 1 paragraph, 3 sentences, 90 words. That is all the time he had for the hospital extension. Madam President, we are aware that the completion of the new hospital wing at Alexandra has been delayed. My government has been in constant discussions with the government of Taiwan for assistance for the project. For fiscal year 2025, we have allocated some $12 million to restart and move this critical project to completion. While we apologize for the delay, I assure our people that the overall improvements in healthcare delivery to Nevis has never been better. And we are 100% committed to completing the hospital expansion commencing in 2025. I said 3 sentences, it's actually 4 sentences. But this is all the time that the premier had for the hospital extension. If this is such a major project, and we are not saying it isn't, it is a major undertaking. It's just that they have gotten it all wrong. But why is it that the premier did not take the time to go into greater detail and provide more assurances? It seemed to me as if when the premier painted the outside of the hospital, while they were breaking down walls inside, he was telling himself, listen, I don't give one damn about you people. I have proven that I could fool you, so let me put some paint inside, while ferns and all kind of things growing up on the inside. It is sad. It is really sad.
Well, you have to understand too that aesthetics are important to the premier. He is more concerned about how it looks rather than how it functions.
Correct.
When you look at the old building that was painted for last year Culturama, it's all about so that when the drone fly over, it looks like something happening. So that is part of the issue. That's why the outside of the hospital was painted. In response to something what Papa said, and I had a disagreement with the premier too about this. He was saying that it's basically one healthcare system. So you're sharing, think it would always call and ask if you got something short. With regards to the Constitution, one of the exclusive areas that Nevis have is health. So it is not true that there is one health system, that health don't fall under like national security. We have already seen the premier seemingly give away one of them, which is you control your own minerals. So when you look at how we going up underneath the sink it to do the geothermal, health is also an area. It seems like the premier is once again saying this a little too much for me. So I need some assistance. So he seemingly wants to join it, but this is within the exclusive jurisdiction of the NIA. So we ain't supposed to be leaning on Sinkits for this particular thing.
You're quite correct. But then again, you gotta feel sorry for the premier, and when you notice his total incompetence, even though he has been premier for since 2017, poor fella really can't find his way around. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. Good evening. Good night.
Good night.
Whenever I think about health care, the leadership in terms of health care is really, really lacking badly in our country. To me, we get quite a lot of insults from this leadership concerning health care. Let me start from dialysis units. We heard about NRP ordered a dialysis unit. NRP ordered the unit for the people of Nevis, not NRP, the people of Nevis. That went down the drain. There are some volunteers came from overseas to do kidney screening. I would not sanction it. And even if it was to be done again, I think you have the tape here. If it was to be repeated, I still wouldn't sanction it. Then now you come up, you have the former Minister of Health who had to resign under tremendous pressure because she was careful, very careful, and care about the health of the people of Nevis. And so she was working very hard to make sure that people in Nevis get the best of health, get the best of health. And she had to resign under pressure because of the pressure that she got from non-support of the government and the leadership. To make matters worse, then you get somebody to put somebody who doesn't even know, was a student nurse to be a health minister. To me, it's an insult to the people of Nevis. It shows that something is lacking. Something is really lacking when it comes to health in Nevis. We just don't care. You say you're going to Guyana to bring back 4 dialysis units. Up to now they ain't come up. People still dying, still have to go overseas, go over St. Kitts. If they can't go, they can't be dialyzed. These things that you care about, man. We should be more careful with health. All these things, the worst place you could have mole is in the hospital. You have patients. Then you have the doctors, you have the nurses and the other workers and so on. Especially the patients. They can't do nothing, they're going to be there and they have to be there. The thing is contagious, it seems like. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. The phone lines are still open, so if you want to call in, you can do so. Alan and I will be here for a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna leave you. Let me tell you, I was supposed to tell you since earlier that the Gingerland breakfast is coming up. See if I can get my computer to work with me. Charlestown had the breakfast last Saturday, and I should tell you that the Charlestown breakfast was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. They did an excellent job. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. I would just like to remind the listening public that Ms. Nisbet is not the Minister of Health. The Minister of Health is actually also the Premier. So I don't think we should be blaming her much. Put the blame where it belongs.
I got your caller. She is the day-to-day minister. He is the senior minister in the Ministry of Health. And if they're doing it the way that the Joseph Parry administration did business, then she has say. She has a lot to say. Whether or not she is understanding the job and capable of doing the job is a different matter. But he's the senior minister, and he's the premier. The responsibility is his. You're right.
May I ask you a question? Who is the senior minister with regards to education?
Caller?
Who is? No, sorry.
Can you hear Alan?
Yes, I can. I was speaking over him. My apologies.
Okay, no, he was asking you a question.
No, well, I was asking you too. Who is the senior minister for education? I thought Try was by himself and Janelle was also by herself.
Yeah, but they have a senior minister. The premier is the senior minister responsible for education as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are senators, junior ministers. So they are in his ministry.
No problem.
A precedent was set under the Labour administration led by Dr. Douglas, where he did not have junior ministers. So, for instance, Ricky Skerritt was the Minister of Tourism.
Which is effectively what happened in Nevis. It's just that they still had that term, junior minister. Listen me, you could call me junior while you pay me right. All right. Call me anything. Just make sure you don't play with my money.
The junior ministers are getting paid the same amount.
Same amount.
I don't see the difference.
Same amount. The only thing they don't get is a constituency allowance. Yeah, but it's the same amount. Call me anything. Don't play with me money. Thanks a lot, caller. Okay.
I wanted to say something about the hospital.
Go right ahead.
Being a building that was built in the 50s, I think it was a present from the Queen at that moment in time. This is not equipped for modern uses. It's the same thing as the courthouse. Dalia was explaining to me that when you're dealing with a hospital, you have to be so precise that you have to be able to control the humidity in one room and the humidity in a different room, totally different, according to what is going on there, because you need to have a sanitary environment. And mold is going to grow different according to the different circumstances. We are not, even the air conditioning, you can't buy an air conditioning that you would use in a residential or even a commercial setting, regular commercial setting. You're talking about precision equipments for these type of things. Even as you say, when he was talking about how they quarantine it, I didn't hear anything about negative pressure, about its plastic off or anything. I just heard it's like they pull across a sign and say mold. And nobody's supposed to go in there. And mold no work like us. You have to do very specific things to ensure, as you said, the mold is confined to this particular room. So the premier could go ahead and say, everywhere there is mold, which is right. But when you got mold in a hospital, this is a totally different scenario to mole being everywhere. And this is not, you're also dealing with it in a situation where people who walking around every day are not necessarily sick. You're dealing with people who have compromised immune system. So it's not fair to equate it and say, well, mole everywhere. The immune system of the people who are everywhere ain't the same as those in the hospital. We got to protect these particular people, and it's not the same standard, in my estimation.
I got you. We are coming to an end. It's 10:31. Alan will have some final words. But I still have to tell you about the Gingerland constituency breakfast, which is coming up on Saturday. This week, Saturday, they're usually across the road from Best Buy supermarket, and they have good food. I could tell you that about Gingerland. Charlestown were good last week, Saturday. Gingerland, they have always been good. They're coming up this week, Saturday, and the starting time is usually 6:30. You can get all the good breakfast food that you want to think about. So just come on up to Gingerland. It's $20 per breakfast. You won't be disappointed. I'm going to play the raffle clip, and then Alan and I will come back for closing.
If you thought the first round was great, well, think again. When it's nice, we do it twice. When it's hot, we take it from the top. And when it's sweet, we definitely got to repeat. We're making it bigger and better. Make your next Valentine's Day unforgettable. Join the Valentine's Day raffle and support 2020 Vision Radio, your community voice on the ear, with tons of fabulous prizes up for grabs. Your chance of winning is high. Imagine surprising your loved one with a brand new smart TV or a Samsung tablet or a sleek laptop or one of the many other prizes available. The big drawing is on February 13th, so you'll have the perfect gift in hand for Valentine's Day. Treat yourself or someone special. Tickets are only $10 each and will not last, so don't miss your chance. Get your tickets today from any member of the 2020 Vision team, and let's make this Valentine's Day one to remember. 2020 Vision Radio, your station, your voice, your choice.
Let me tell you, tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me.
We're back. We've had more than 2 hours of Tell Me Overload. Alan Powell, we agree that we'll get together at least once a year when we'll talk all things Nevis, anything you want to talk about. So, Alan, what else is on your mind? What else you want to say tonight?
I feel like we were able to cover most. No, I think we were able to cover all of what I wanted to cover for the most part. Yeah. I just the thing I had really want to get in was the recurrent budget, as I said, because I have been for the past couple of years trying to understand why we are so cash poor, and the auditor needs to be clear, because it seems almost like the premier is setting low targets for the revenues, so that when he exceed them, he could say, "Oh, this is such an unexpected gain." Whereas when you put in the actual figures that would come in, you would see. One of the things that shocked me, you realize 2023, the economy was in recession.
Yes.
The economy.
Significant.
These things are not being spoken of. And I'm so excited to see the 2024, because that's when I'm actually going to see the actual for what happened there. But the premier is presiding over a economy that is in a downturn. at this particular moment in time. No care how you slice it. So I just wanted to bring out those type of things. I wanna hear more clarity on those things. And those things also highlight the need. Mr. Premier, come with plans. Too many major things are going on. And we're gonna do that part here and we're gonna see how the rest go.
Alan, there is one other thing that I want to get your opinion on. I'll play a clip and then you can go straight ahead and respond to the clip. I will have my say on that as my parting shot.
In fact, I believe that even our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts should feel proud, because recently we were able to lend to St. Kitts not only men, skilled men, but also machinery to help them build roads in St. Kitts. So if you're up in St. Peter's and you have new roads up there, say thanks to the NIA that our investment in equipment, our investment in training people has now resulted in those people and that equipment being put to use to help our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts.
I don't know if we have a constituency named St. Peter's, but the Premier, I live over in Prospect and I usually take the Port Road to go home. Listen me. Nowadays, it is common to see animals drinking water out of the holes in the Port Road when rain falls. It shakes the life out of me and the poor little vehicle when I'm going home. But the Premier has lent to St. Kitts men and equipment, while the people in Fountain and Westbury ain't got a proper road and they've been promising that. While the Island Main Road is falling apart and so many other roads in Nevis are poor. But the Premier says he's proud to lend men and equipment. He's the first man in the history of St. Kitts Nevis lend out a whole department of government. Lend it down to St. Kitts. And he say proud.
Yeah, my partner tell me he had a good time down there. But this, once again, in my estimation, is bad politics. I think he's trying to make it feel like this is something to be proud. And once again, those 30% of people are going to tell him, yeah, those are the same 30% who, by the way, was saying yeah when he announced the dog park. They're always going to say yeah. The issue with this and why I feel like this is bad politics is because politics is local. And if this was the saying that I said that he would understand. You got to dance a yard before you dance abroad. If buy me good, sure, I could lend you. But if buy me no good, and me a lend out the thing, I don't think he has calculated. He's talking about how we need to be proud. People want to be proud when they come outside and they left their driveway and they could drive on proper road. I saw this mistake in the recent election where the Democrats were talking about how the wonderfully they're doing in NATO and how they're doing this in Ukraine and no. The American people were not concerned with what's going on over there because politics is local. How are you going to bring down my egg price? How you going to fix my road? So when he going to be, and he even got it hard to tell St. Peter's people that they need to thank him. How he sound? He not sound like he want to let me need a St. Kitts? Nah, Nevis, with how he going. He only want to learn with people who are going to tell anything where he say, yeah, that is not good politics. Politics is local. You got to take care of your people. When they're good in every aspect, sure. Listen, you could have sent them Antigua, could have sent them South America. But if they are bad road in Nevis, I don't see no scenario how you going to tell the same Nevis people that them not get them free share, that you take up them equipment go send them down a single. Well then what is the argument for the free share then? Them I get more than them free share plus IB equipment? Where aren't we now contributing to the problem? Shouldn't they be the one who setting up equipment for us? What made them not got it? When he break down there, what gonna happen down there again with that? So once again, bad politics in my estimation by the premier, but he does take a little time to hear me. It's a long time ago we tell him, Mr. Premier, you can't do a project, just call the Taiwanese. You realize how many projects we talk about, and he say, and we're seeking help from Taiwanese. It just take him a little while. So maybe you're gonna take him a little while with this too. But that's bad politics. Politics is local. And he wanna go federal. No. That's not gonna work.
Alan, thank you very much. We didn't get together last year for Tell Me Overload, so we have completed Tell Me Overload now in January. I want to thank you for joining us and being on the show. Give a little plug for the topics, man, because you just have me down here hustling home on a Tuesday night to watch the topics. So give a little plug for the topics and the other shows and Real Entertainment.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I also appear on the network with Ira Willett, Reese Trust, Yason Tafari, and Banky. Banky and Yason do an agricultural show on Fridays. And me, well, I am appearing solo right now on the topics, but it's me at 9 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time, in Nevis time, and Ira, when he gets back from his daddy duties, he and Reese will be going before me. But if you want to listen to me on Tuesdays, I try to inform the public about things going on in Nevis politically. I like politics all the time. That's one of the things what my father rubbed off for me, and I more even than him, because people wouldn't know this, but Rosalie. Maybe y'all didn't know, but Rosalie, yeah, all these things. So we share politics and cricket as well. He giving me some blows in Sri Lanka, but it's good to come and talk with you for the 2 hours. Can we do it anyway?
Yeah, I did tell you that Australia will do well in Sri Lanka, and you had a little doubt. 600 and something is a whole ton of runs.
Yeah, this ganja.
Okay.
This ganja.
Alan Powell, thank you very much. Say good night to your lovely wife and the rest of the family. That's going to do it for us. Good night, Dahlia, here in the background. That's going to do it for us on Tell Me for this week. Next week, Dr. Daly and Tulu will be back in the house. And next week, we'll actually sing the birthday song. I didn't do that this week, because Dr. Daly tell everybody I can't sing. Until next week, then, we want you to be good. And that is when we'll be back with you. Thanks a lot again.